Where in DC can you see world-class artists for free? The Library of Congress. They have presented live music in one of the city's most iconic spaces for more than 100 years. Join them for more than 25 concerts and events, from classical music to jazz, Broadway, popular music, and more. Tickets are available now at loc.gov/concerts. See a show that's sold out? Don't sweat it. The library offers day of rush passes to all performances. See what's coming up at loc.gov/concerts.
Hey, life can change in an instant. 1 minute, everything feels normal, and the next, someone else's mistake turns your world upside down. That's when you need a team you can count on. NACE Law Group has been standing up for DC families for decades, fighting for neighbors hurt by medical malpractice, wrongful deaths, and serious injuries. They don't just settle quickly or push papers. They dig in, fight hard, and make sure every client gets the justice they deserve. And here's something we love. They're a longtime supporter of CityCast because just like us, they care about this community and the people who call it home. So if you've been hurt or someone you care about has, pick up the phone. Call NACE Law Group. They'll stand with you, fight for your family, and make sure your rights are protected. Visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com. That's WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com. Today on CityCast DC, we're talking about the big budget troubles ahead for DC and what they might actually mean for your bottom line. We're digging into the latest Kennedy Center news, which is mass layoffs. And we're talking about Valentine's Day in DC. Plus, in a members-only fourth segment, there is a plan to totally redo Pennsylvania Avenue downtown. We're going to get into what it might look like. I'm here with Axios' Junaid Dill and my CityCast colleague, Julia Caron. Today is Friday, February 13th. I'm Michael Schaefer. Here's what DC is talking about. Hey, Junaid.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Julia.
Hey, Mike.
So before we get into the episode, I want to let folks know today's episode is sponsored by NACE Law Group. NACE is a longtime supporter of CityCast because just like us, they care about this community and the people who call it home. I've also got some exciting home news for you guys. Tomorrow and every Saturday from here on out, you're going to see a little something extra in your podcast feed. CityCast is launching a new show. It's called Your City Could Be Better, because let's get real, DC could be better. Our CityCast CEO, my pal David Plotz, is sitting down every week with different hosts and producers from the CityCast network, including me sometimes. David and the guest will talk through the things our cities are trying as we grow and change, what cities are doing right and wrong, the weird things they're trying, and the surprising successes. We will get into dog poop crises, office to residential conversions, bike lanes, tensions with the federal government, and a bunch more. We want your ideas too, by the way. We'll cover it all, and we'll learn from each other and make our cities better in the process. We hear from listeners that you love the special episodes we do with all the CityCast hosts. The first episode is already out now on YouTube and in the Your City Could Be Better podcast feed. Or just check back here on CityCast DC tomorrow. We'll be dropping the latest episode in this feed every Saturday. Okay, so this is a potential downer to start the episode, but we need to talk about the budget, people.
All right. How are we going to make this sound sexy? Is there anything sexy in this budget we got to know about?
I mean, look, there's sort of two big pieces of news right now. One is that yesterday the Senate followed the House in rejecting the budget changes that DC passed last year that would have decoupled the city's tax code from the federal tax code. This is a thing that a bunch of states do, where you don't automatically get all your federal deductions at the local level. What this means, though, is like a pretty big budget hole, like $600 million over the duration of the budget. It is a weird time to be doing it because a lot of people have already started filing their taxes, not including me.
That would be me filing my taxes early.
Look at you, responsible citizen.
Listen, I try. It's from years of being a freelancer and having to file quarterly, and it's habit by this point, you know?
Well, you may be in for a world of complication because the rates at which you filed your taxes may be changing, but they may also not be because...
Right, because so I saw that, I think it was on like the council's website, the thing that they had already passed, it hit the 30-day mark. Is that right? What is going on? Please explain.
DC Council Chairman Phil Mendelson claims that the 30-day window Congress has to approve or reject all DC bills was Wednesday. And because they didn't act before then, the bill is law and they can't do anything about it. I'm assuming that senators feel differently about the timing and that this is a thing that's still going to be hashed out. Either way, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty around, well, for people like you, what you ought to be getting back or shouldn't be getting back or whatever. But there's also a lot of uncertainty around how much money the District of Columbia is going to have to do things that are valuable to the people we elect. And this is not even the biggest of the sort of looming threats out there. But also, the mayor of D.C., outgoing mayor Muriel Bowser, has sort of let it be known that the revenue forecast, how much money the government's going to take in the next few years, is looking really, really grim for a lot of reasons we've discussed on this show about the city's economy, the federal layoffs, what's been happening. And that means there's going to be a big hole that means either we got to stop spending money on some things that people like, or we got to raise taxes and take more money from the citizens. And that is not an enviable position for any politician. It's particularly a tough one because DC is in an election year, and nobody really wants to be the person running on you're going to get less stuff and pay more money platform. Janae, you've covered this stuff. What do you make of we've been through a cycle here where there's these grim announcements and then things turn out not to be so bad. What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, every year it does seem to get kind of worse. Like last year's budget was supposed to be terrible, and the one before was supposed to be really difficult for City Hall. Some of the same problems are, again, surprise, surprise, happening again. The soaring costs for healthcare and childcare subsidies are putting a lot of pressure on the mayor and council members. The mayor has to come out with her budget soon, but already she has said it looks like there's a $1.1 billion hole in the current budget picture because of the soaring costs for some of these programs.
Can I stop you? $1.1 billion hole out of how big a budget?
Last year's budget was $20 billion, about, I'm using round numbers.
Okay, so 5%. That's pretty big.
I'm not sure if this is a 4-year calculation or a single year $1 billion cut they would have to make, but either way, they would have to chop, I think, the childcare program, which was kind of saved last year through some last minute maneuvering. And it's not really that sustainable in the future because of how difficult it is to keep that running and funded, or I guess raise taxes.
The childcare program is also centerpiece in Janice Lewis George's mayoral candidate. She's the left-wing Democratic Socialist candidate. And has talked a lot about needing to expand this as an essential service that enables people to work and enables people to survive and afford to live in DC. How is she currently saying they'll pay for it, and what does this budget news do for that?
Well, Janice Lewis George, yes, is running on that and a lot of other things that we'd like to understand better how they'll get paid, but. They want to find ways to preserve the child care one because that keeps families in the city, which is important. And they want to look at maybe some tax increases, probably if I had to guess, or cuts and other things to make up for saving the child care subsidy. I noticed in the Washington Post that eligibility for the child care program went up. It increased by 29% in 2025.
Sorry, what does that mean?
So there was a stat that I saw that the Post wrote about, which was like the demand for this, because it skyrocketed, it created a $32 million deficit. And to me, what that says is people really like this thing and want more of it.
They need money. So the city needs money to fund all that.
So one of the knocks on the city, because, look, we would like to say, or DC partisans would like to say, hey, this is all Trump caused. You know, they've fired a huge bunch of workers from the biggest industry we've got. There's a projection of 40,000 or more job losses over, I think, 5 years. They've scared off tourists. The National Guard thing crushed hospitality for some time. But the knock on the city's spending history is that there was a lot of sort of COVID relief money that came into the system, and they began spending as if that was permanent instead of just a temporary thing. Do you think that was true? And if so, is that still the mindset?
I think that there's truth to that. There's a lot of money, obviously, and the city could spend it on all kinds of social programs, and they got used to that. I think the mayor has been trying to wean the city council off of that mindset, but they have found ways in the end to keep these programs alive for just another year, maybe one more year. But then you look in the long-term plan, and the money isn't there. And so every year we're going back and having the same conversation of how do you save childcare beyond just this one single year. And we're having the same one again this year.
And I wonder if the kind of the sense the last few cycles we've covered that there's typically things get saved at the last minute. The congressional, the hole in the budget last year caused by Congress, was going to be $1 billion, and then they did some accounting stuff, and it wound up being something less horrendous. But what I mean is we have this sort of pattern of like, oh my God, we're going to have to, close every playground or something.
Yeah, right.
And then we don't. And I wonder if this winds up having the effect of lessening people's thinking about severity of this, that like there they go again, and I'm sure that the accountants will figure out some genius fix.
Yeah, the council members often go, well, the mayor said last year was going to be a tough budget too, and the one before, and maybe there's but like I this is the year where the city was supposed to face a recession technically. What exactly is a recession? But like that's what the economists were predicting for the district specifically, that it would have a recession because of the Trump impacts.
Can we just get in briefly to, like, we do have a mayoral race on, and this race has a more left-wing politician and a more sort of center-left politician. How does it change the dynamics, or will it change the dynamics?
Well, I'm glad you raised that, because I think the mayor's race needs some more buzz. We're waiting for Janice Lewis George has come out with some policy platforms like the one you mentioned about childcare. She's very much for affordability and all these other programs where I went to one of her campaign launches at Howard Theater, and it was like a list of 12 things she wants to fund for all, and that's great. But like, how do you fund all these programs she wants?
Very Mamdani-esque for sure.
Well, I will say like Mamdani's were very specific, right? He was like free buses and this, and let's make halal bowls like $8 or whatever it was. We'd like to see some more specificity. Kenyon McDuffie, meanwhile, has not produced very any specific policy platforms that I can tell, other than saying he does want the city to be more affordable. I think he will flick at more of the sort of middle class and upper middle class crowd as well, and say, people like small-time landlords, elderly people who gain income from second property that they might own. We want to take care of them too and consider their situation as well. Whereas I think Janice will go a lot more populist in her messaging.
And populist meaning appealing to who?
I think that the masses, right? I think she will appeal to Ward 1, Columbia Heights, the Adams Morgan sort of young crowd, plus her base in Upper 16th Street and around Tacoma, people who are families or elderly.
Imagine a lot of small-time landlords and subletters of accessory dwelling units in precisely the neighborhoods you just mentioned. Yeah,
so she has to thread that needle, and so far, I think as a council member, she's been sort of charming and and receptive to those people's needs. And I think she's built a good reputation that way. Kenyon McDuffie, I think, is more naturally aligned with those sensibilities as a more moderate sort of Democrat. So, and Ward 3, the wealthy, affluent neighborhoods across the park, that's going to be a real competitive area. Will Kenyon McDuffie break through there? Will Janice find a way to still get support?
But just to finish this up, as far as you know, neither of these candidates has explicitly said, like, listen, there's some people among us who are going to have to pay a bunch more.
If they have, I haven't seen it shouted from the rooftops, and it's kind of a hard pitch right now, given the city situation. I would think.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch the needle get thread. Catch world-class arts in DC this spring for free. The Peabody Institute of the Johns Hopkins University presents the Peabody Performance Series, a full season of free concerts at the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg Center, located at 555 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. The Peabody Performance Series brings the artistry and innovation of one of the nation's leading conservatories to the heart of DC, with concerts and programs spanning jazz, classical music, and dance. Take a midday break with the Peabody Graduate Jazz Ensemble on February 27th. On March 24th, experience the Dance Showcase featuring contemporary choreography by Peabody faculty and alumni. On April 10th, the first of the Slang Lecture Series examines spirituals as the cultural bedrock of the American sound, led by distinguished visiting faculty artist Darren Atwater. Hear the Baltimore Jazz Collective's original compositions, arrangements, and swinging improvisations on April 17th. On May 1st, pianist Stephen Spooner presents Aspects of Liszt. And on May 8th, the season concludes with a performance by the Peabody Jazz Ensemble. While all events are free, tickets are required for entry. Learn more and get your tickets at washingtondc.jhu.edu.
It is one of my absolute favorite things when I get to do an ad read for something that I was already looking forward to doing. Because ever since I saw Amy Sherald's absolutely breathtaking portrait that she painted of First Lady Michelle Obama, I have been obsessed with her work ever since. So I am so geeked to have the chance to see her exhibition. It's Amy Sherald, American Sublime at the Baltimore Museum of Art. This exhibition showcases 38 of her breathtaking paintings, created from 2007 to the present, from her early, rarely seen works to her iconic, larger-than-life portraits that I first fell in love with. Over 52,000 people have already experienced it, making it the Baltimore Museum of Art's biggest exhibition in more than 2 decades. It would be a great day trip activity from DC for a date night or just to get out of the city. Tickets are just $18 for adults, and pro tip, it is free on Thursday evenings from 5 to 9 p.m. Buy tickets and plan your visit at artbma.org, and I'll see you there.
So speaking of the city's situation, employees of the Kennedy Center, which, contrary to MAGA belief, are not all effete artistes, but are actually like ticket takers and maintenance people and a lot of regular folks, got a late night email Monday night from Ambassador Richard Grinnell, the MAGA-fied leader of the Kennedy Center, saying that, yes, the plan to close the place for 2 years for construction, which is, abrupt to say the least, is going to mean we may be left with skeletal crews here, basically saying like a bunch of you are going to lose your jobs. This is going to lead to a whole lot of people being disadvantaged. But it also sort of puts again in question the future of the whole place. Typically, when like a big venue or cultural center or something needs to do a reconstruction, the stuff is planned years and years and years in advance so that the people who perform there can secure other venues and that kind of stuff. So this has the same kind of combination of like Keystone Cops and malice and actually the shot that was aimed to like hit stereotypical anti-Trump fancy pants art elites is actually going to hit relatively little paid union workers.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, is there a plan out yet? Do we know what they're doing at the Kennedy Center? Am I crazy to ask? 2-year closure? Is it a 5-year closure?
Glad you asked. Neither Trump or Grinnell have any plans or specific plans for the renovation. Trump told reporters last week he's not ripping it down. He'll be using steel. They're using the structure. We're using some of the marble, and some of the marble comes down. But when it's open, it'll be brand new and really beautiful. He said the project would cost about $200 million. That was from, the renovations bit was from the Truth Social Plus too. So.
But now we have to wait for the next Truth Social post, who knows when, about what might happen.
TikTok, guys.
I mean, it's a funny thing because that building has not historically been really beloved. That was derided when it was first opened. It was like a pizza box on the Potomac. And that architect, Edward Durrell Stone, was really, really hated in retrospect. He also did the building Columbus Circle in New York. His buildings were all very similar. So like, as with so many other things in the Trump era of DC, this thing that lots of people, you don't have to be MAGA to acknowledge as a problem. My biggest gripe with the Kennedy Center is it's because of the freeways and the roads and stuff. It is like really cut off from the city. It's very hard to like have a pleasant stroll from a concert to like a nice neighborhood dinner. This thing that people have acknowledged as a problem is going to be fixed by a person or people who have now a pretty well-established history of making decisions in an arbitrary Keystone Cop, last minute and often mean-spirited way.
Well, Mike, we both talked to the same source who has once suggested that you could have marina parking for boats at the You could drive your boat up to the Kennedy Center. Wouldn't that improve access?
So there's this guy, Paolo Zampalli, who's was like a regular figure in the New York tabloids. He ran a quote unquote modeling agency. He is the one who introduced Donald Trump and Melania Trump. And he was an appointee of some sort in the first Trump term. He lived in Georgetown in a house that had a giant oil painting of Trump in it. He's also a very entertaining, chatty person. And I called him right when Trump first took over the Kennedy Center. And he was like, oh, the place is a dump right now. And they're not, the food's no good, which is 100% true.
That's factually correct.
And
it's not good.
They're leaving it could be so much more glamorous. And this was at a time when people were saying sort of snooty progressives were saying Trump wants to have stripper poles in the Eisenhower Theater or, pro wrestling events there. And this guy was more like, no, we need to have high class, runway shows. And we should have a Cipriani restaurant on the top. And maybe we can have parking for boats. Because I hate the way you have to walk from Georgetown to there and kind of duck under a freeway and stuff. That's completely true, although the boats might have a pretty limited audience. So that was sort of for me at least, this is the goal. It's not sort of MAGA rally culture. It's like Eurotrash culture that is the ambition. And I think if you look at it that way, that. I don't know if Zampalli has any role in this or anything, but I think that spirit is going to animate a lot of the thinking.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, that's all we've sort of heard. That's the flavor of what we could maybe expect out of this. Some of those pieces.
And the messed up thing is, at the end of the day, it's a cultural center. The reason that governments build cultural centers is to house the kind of cultural stuff that the free market does not do well. So there's any number of great arenas for popular shows or for, Taylor Swift or whatever, because those things pay for themselves. But things like a ballet or opera maybe do not in the same way. And so societies decide, for better or worse, that this is a thing that merits us giving a little cushion, creating a place to do them. And that seems lost in a lot of the conversations about the future of the Kennedy Center, that why don't we do more popular stuff? And the answer is because government doesn't need to do popular stuff. The government should support the stuff that we decide is worthy, that maybe the market can't do it for itself.
I was talking to someone outside DC and they were expressing the view of how a lot of people, I guess, in conservative world just see this as, oh well, it's another elite space being the torn and like they had it coming kind of thing. But they also kind of paused then and were like, well, I didn't really know much about the Kennedy Center. And the thing is, like, it was a hometown thing mostly. It wasn't this huge major like whatever worldly place. It was like a place, people in the region knew and beloved and loved.
And that's the other thing. It's going to inevitably be a hybrid. That is to say, it's the National Cultural Center, but a significant part of its revenue and its success or its failure comes from selling tickets. And who do you sell tickets to? You sell tickets to people who can go there for the evening, which is to say people who live around.
Dentists in Fairfax or whatever.
Right. And if you do stuff that alienates them, either in what kind of shows you're booking or in the sort of the broader symbolism of the place, that is going to be a bad business move. And I think this tension's playing out in real time. And I think you can do a bunch of gimmicky stuff. Like we're going to have some Trump-friendly outfit do a gala performance of this or that. But that doesn't work forever because it has to be open every day. And meaning it has to get normies in a lot. And the normies are going to carry a lot of the cost. On the other hand, just putting this out there, a lot of normies might prefer a place that looks a little bit different, that is more knitted into the city, that is less sort of weird and Edward Durrell Stone-ish. I don't know that that's what they're going to get, but there is a world in which somebody, a president, saying, let's take a big look at ways of really changing this place up, would not be greeted as a evil phenomenon.
Mike wants the boat parking. We gotta get the marina.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Seriously.
The boat parking. Yes, that's true.
You're gonna have us on your boat? Do you have a boat?
No, we'll take the CityCast company boat.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Hell yeah.
Now we're talking.
It's actually it's like a floating barge.
It's gonna sink.
But
okay. Could be fun.
So I have been going to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas every year for a minute, and it's truly one of the highlights of my whole year. I go to a ton of conferences and events, and it feels like a whirlwind of lanyards and talks, and I leave actually feeling exhausted, like, hey, I showed up but have no takeaways. South by Southwest is different because I actually leave feeling nourished and energized for new ideas. Because South by Southwest is where the world's most creative, inspired, and eclectic minds gather to shape what's next. It's the ultimate gathering for the global creative community, where thought leaders, filmmakers, musicians, and other professionals across industries share the same space. And this year, I will actually be there talking about how we can make sense of this very particular moment we're all in media and culture. Innovation, film and TV, music and culture all collide when the 2026 South by Southwest conferences and festivals take over Austin, Texas, this March 12th through March 18th. For one eclectic week, the city becomes a playground for boundary-pushing ideas, world premieres, and live performances that turn into beneficial experiences. I once went to a secret pop-up concert of Solange Knowles at South by Southwest that genuinely changed my life. At South by, you can gain access to new ideas, people, and opportunities that do not happen anywhere else. So start planning your adventure in Austin and secure your badge now at sxsw.com/DC.
So, Julia, our colleague Kayla has, as every year, a really good list of recommendations for what to do, it being Valentine's Day. I don't know if you guys think of Valentine's Day as like a day to do stuff or as like amateur night or what. But what have we been tipping in CityCast that people should know about?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Kayla's got a list. If you go to dc.citycast.fm/events, she's got a bunch of stuff listed that you can do this weekend. There's like awkward sex in the city at like Comet Ping Pong, which like I love Comet Ping Pong. There is a Palentine's Day at the Upside on Moore. And that is literally exactly what it sounds like. Basically, love comes in many forms. There's like, friendship, love, romantic love, all that stuff. This is by the Roslyn Bid. And so they have, a Valentine's Day event where you bring people, you can grab a drink. The event is free.
I'm sorry, I have to go to Roslyn to find a friend to Valentine's Day with?
Apparently, got to cross the
All
river for
right.
friendship, Junaid.
But you could cross in a boat from the Kennedy Center. It's
Yeah,
very
okay.
close.
Cross on a dinghy. Seriously. There's also like a bunch of different dance parties. There's a Valentine's dance party at Black Cat. There's a rock and roll dance party at Black Cat on Saturday. There's, all of this kind of stuff if you are looking to go like clubbing and that sort of thing. And there's also just like very chill things like an edible flower cake decorating event at Planter. I personally am not a huge like Valentine's Day girly. I'm more of a like Palentine's Galentine's kind of girl where like my friends and I like get together and have a crappy bottle of wine and have pizza and like shoot the shit,
I have a love letter for DC that I'm a little bittersweet. When did DC become, or why isn't DC more of a night owl? I was thinking about this the other day. I remember in like high school, I think Kramer's bookstore, I don't know if this is a Mandela effect, it was open 24 hours a day. This is all to say that I would like DC to become more of a late night place again. I love you, DC, but we need more things late.
How is that a love letter? That's a passive aggressive criticism letter.
But that's the truest kind of love letter. It's a passive aggressive yes,
Yeah,
but.
I think it's pretty direct, but this is where my poetic thinking has taken me. I would love somewhere to work, write something, maybe like scribble on a notepad at like 11:30 p.m. and everywhere is closed in DC. It's also our metro system.
You want a real third space that's open at like
I want
midnight
Manhattan
is what you
level
want.
of third space. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Make DC more like New York, a little bit.
Julia, you got a love letter for us?
I don't know. There's a lot of things I love about DC. I love the nature. Like, I love being able to walk out my back door and go right into Rock Creek Park. I love that I live in an area where I'm far enough away from downtown that I can like actually sleep at night, but I can go anywhere pretty quickly. I love that I've made a real life here. Like my friends and family are from here. They've stayed here for decades plus. Like, I don't know. There's something about the allure of DC when like you're in the plane and you see the Washington Monument and the Capitol and stuff and you're coming down and you're like, oh, I'm home. Like, that is what I love about DC. It's that feeling. What about you, Mike?
I have something much more specific and news related. The story this week about grand jury rejecting the effort by the Justice Department to indict those 6 lawmakers for political reasons.
My brother, where is this going?
No, I'm just saying that like good for our people. And then the same thing with sandwich.
Oh,
guy.
I see.
The old line is that the grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. But I don't know, every now and then I see something where it's like, we're in this moment of all these institutions just genuflecting before power. And I think this is a place where the track record of regular citizens in the last couple of years has been like pretty admirable. And those are your neighbors. Those are like definition. You're like average, regular folks. So good for us,
I have to say I love that DC is like this small town in a big urban place. Anytime you go out to any neighborhood, you'll run into someone pretty regularly.
Run into someone but can't stay somewhere past midnight.
Let's run into more people past midnight in DC. Make DC late night again.
I always run into someone I know at the at jury duty.
There you go. Yeah, the small town.
too.
It really. I mean, growing up here, it really feels that way still.
My funny jury duty story has nothing to do with any of this, but I'll just tell it. I was years ago, before the pandemic, I was on jury duty, and I see this guy who I recognize, and I don't remember where I recognize him from, but I could just, very well-dressed older man. I'm like, why do I recognize that guy? And then they eventually were voir dired. They bring a whole bunch of potential jurors into some courtroom, and one of the jurors takes ill, gets sick, collapses. And then this older man jumps up and rushes to her aid. And that's when I realize who it is. It's Dr. Fauci.
Oh, no way. That's wild.
Whoa.
It was pre-COVID, so he wasn't as famous, but the judge recognized him and made this joke like, oh, well, when you get sick in D.C. and you're on jury duty, like a world-famous doctor rushes to your aid.
That is awesome.
So I was editor of Washingtonian Magazine at the time, and I called this back to our newsroom, and one of the writers was going to do a little story on this because people love those stories about like, he's a big shot, important person, but goes on jury duty just like the rest of us. So she reaches Fauci back at his desk, and he says whatever like stuff people say, like, well, I was just doing my duty like a citizen, like that kind of thing. And at the end, she's like, oh, by the way, how is the patient? How is the person? And he's like, well, I can't tell you that. It's HIPAA. So the court loves stories like that because they remind people who are. I always wanted to like see if I could get all the letters that people send in. Like I am far too important to go to jury duty. But I think the courts love it when there's stories about the high and mighty.
No, that's great. I love that.
All right, I want to give a big thank you to our newest CityCast DC neighbors, Monica B. and Andre R. Thank you both for your support. As you've probably heard by now, CityCast is expanding. We're hiring 3 reporters and an editor. Those job listings are now online. If you want to support the CityCast expansion, then become a member at membership.citycast.fm. Plus, today, paid subscribers get a bonus 4th roundup chat about the potential transformation of Pennsylvania Avenue. If you want to be sure you always get the full episode, become a member. Head to membership.citycast.fm and sign up. It's only $10 a month. Members get ad-free listening, exclusive members events, and an extra events newsletter every week. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. And that is all for today here on CityCast DC. Our production team this week was Andy Reese, Julia Karen, and Ash Durbin. Newsletter editor Kayla Cote-Semmerman wrote our fabulous newsletter, CityCast DC, this week. And our hosts are Bridget Todd and me, Michael Schaefer. Music is by Alex Roldan, with additional music from Philip Ayers and Taki Brano from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. If you enjoyed the show, why not crank it from your yacht as you look for parking outside the Kennedy Center? We'll be back Tuesday morning with more news from around the city. Bye.